I knew the British government were bad, but I didn't know they could be this bad. Nigel Farage has made a shocking announcement on what happened to him on Remembrance Sunday. We will go over this in detail, whilst also going over all of the latest news from up and down the country. But first, the like button and subscribe to the channel, and join our fast-growing community. Just a quick one to say we have new Stuck Farmer t-shirts available on our store. Go grab them now. They are available at britishstand.com or check the link in the description. Nigel Farage has blamed the establishment for not allowing him to take a public-facing role with other party leaders at the National Service of Remembrance at the Cenotaph today. Farage, as leader of Reform UK, was forced to watch proceedings from a balcony on Whitehall, along with Green Party co-leader Carla Denyer and some representatives from Quebec in Canada. Farage said that Reform UK was told that it could not lay a wreath, as the party only has 5 MPs in the House of Commons, below the threshold of 6 MPs needed to qualify for wreath-laying. However, Farage pointed out that Gavin Robinson, deputy leader of the DUP, laid a wreath. The DUP has 5 MPs in Westminster, exactly the same number as Reform UK. Farage said that the establishment had blocked him from laying a wreath, and said that after the next election, when the party hopes to win more seats, it will be a different story. He added, "I personally am not complaining, but other people are." A government source told us that the DUP laid a wreath on behalf of the Democratic Unionist Party, following an addendum to the 1984 protocol. This is to ensure that all 4 constituent parts of the UK are represented at the service of remembrance. This 1984 protocol stipulates that only the leaders at Westminster of parties which had won and taken up 6 or more seats at the preceding general election should lay wreaths. Separately, the SNP and Plaid Cymru have an agreement that they lay a joint wreath, with the SNP laying their wreath on behalf of both parties this year. The addendum to the 1984 protocol is as follows. To ensure all 4 constituent parts of the UK can always be represented, the party with the most sitting MPs from each of the devolved nations should be given the opportunity to lay a wreath, including if that party has fewer than 6 seats. The change has been agreed by the Speaker, the Prime Minister's Office, the Northern Ireland Office, the Chief Whip and the Royal Household. Plaid Cymru and SNP have their own agreement, set up in 2001, that they lay a joint wreath, with each taking turns in alternate years to be the wreath layer. The other party is then invited to view the ceremony with other guests from the FCDO building on their non-wreath laying year. The SNP's Westminster leader, Stephen Flynn, sparked outrage during his appearance alongside other political leaders at the Cenotaph after refusing to sing God Save the King. Flynn also appeared alongside Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, leader of the opposition Kemi Badenoch, and Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey. Standing close to the Cenotaph were an unprecedented 8 former Prime Ministers, Sir John Major, Sir Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, Lord Cameron, Baroness May, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, and Rishi Sunak. Farage, who is a known history buff, also paid a heartfelt tribute to World War I hero Private Herbert Columbine ahead of Remembrance Sunday. Speaking in an interview earlier this month, the Reform UK leader said, "He volunteered for World War I. He was defending a position against the Great German Advance, Kaiser Bill's Offensive as we called it, in March 1918, and this was after Russia had been knocked out of the war. 2 million troops came to the Western Front, and frankly, nearly beat us at the war." Columbine's position was, as with some others, to hold the Germans off as long as they possibly could to allow the rest of the army to retreat. And so Columbine was put in a horrendous position, really. Anyway, they were being attacked on all sides, surrounded by goodness knows what. And Columbine famously says to the rest of the machine gun crew, "Off you go, lads, I can handle this," and stays on his own firing. In the end, the Germans become so frustrated with him that they actually use an airplane to take him out. They bomb him from the air and that kills him. That takes him out and he gets the posthumous Victoria Cross. So it's a pretty epic story. In other news, Labour has been blasted for betraying the Chagos Islanders after failing to invite a representative from the archipelago to lay a wreath at the Cenotaph on Remembrance Sunday. The islands are already at the centre of an international spat over Sir Keir Starmer's decision to hand over their sovereignty to Mauritius. But now, their apparent remembrance snub has been lambasted as a total betrayal and a denial of their right to self-determination. On Sunday, a dozen representatives from the UK overseas territories laid wreaths at the UK's National Service of Remembrance at the Cenotaph in Whitehall, in recognition of the part that their citizens played in both world wars. Representatives from Anguilla, Bermuda, the British Virgin Islands, the Cayman Islands, the Falkland Islands, Gibraltar, Montserrat, the Pitcairn Islands, St Helena, Ascension Island, and Tristan da Cunha, and the Turks and Chagos Islands laid wreaths at the Cenotaph. But no one from the British Indian Ocean Territory, which includes the Chagos Islands and Diego Garcia, was asked by the UK government to participate in the wreath-laying. Jean-François Nellon, a spokesman for Chagosian Voices, which represents thousands of Chagosians and their descendants in the UK, told the media of the snub. He said, "Unfortunately, no representative or anyone from the community was asked to attend the laying of wreaths at the Cenotaph. Chagosians living on Diego Garcia assisted Allied troops during the Second World War, while the islands hosted an RAF station between 1942 and 1946. Nellon said, "My grandmother, who was born on Diego Garcia and is still alive, helped the injured troops at the infirmary." He added, "The Chagosians were helping the Allies on the islands in case the Germans attacked." British overseas territories have only been allowed to lay wreaths after a change of policy to allow UK overseas territories since 2019. However, it is thought that no representative of the Chagos Islands has ever been asked to take part. Between 1968 and 1973, the UK forcibly removed the Chagosians to Mauritius and the United Kingdom. There are now several thousand Chagosians in the UK, many of whom want to return to their homeland. The Royal British Legion says that decisions about wreath layers were made by the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, DCMS. DCMS declined to comment, but a government source confirmed that the Chagos Islands were not represented, telling the media, "The British Indian Ocean Territory was not represented at Remembrance Day. There is no permanent population on the island, and the territory is administered from London." Tory MP Andrew Rosindell, the president of the all-party parliamentary group on the Chagos Islands, and whose campaigning persuaded the government to allow the overseas territories to be allowed to take part in the Cenotaph ceremony, accused ministers of a total betrayal of the Chagosians. He told the media he did not accept the government's reason for excluding the Chagos Islands from the ceremony. Rosindell said, "That may be correct, but it doesn't make it right that the Chagosian people based here in Britain are not invited to send a representative to lay their own wreath. It's a total betrayal of the British Chagosian population in the UK. The government are acting like a colonial power, riding roughshod over the Chagosian people and denying them their right of self-determination." What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.